Let's delve deeper into this with Joseph Williams. He's a former senior editor at US News and World Report. Welcome back to the show, Joseph.
Good to see you.
All right. So lots to talk about, but let's start with the stocks because they're all across the board. And during this period of volatility, I guess many people are wondering how investors should, how worried should investors be? And not just investors, but, normal workers who perhaps had retirement plans locked into these markets.
Well, the answer to that question comes in the answer that got to another question, which is, should I look at my portfolio? And most advisors say absolutely not. Do not look at your portfolio. That's probably one of the most anxiety-producing things that an ordinary investor, somebody who has a 401k, can do right now, because things are going all over the map. And part of the reason why they're going all over the map is because uncertainty. That's the one thing that markets absolutely do not like. And right now, because we don't really know where these tariffs are headed, we don't know what the White House has in plan, and because the goals of the tariffs, depending on who you talk to, are mutually exclusive, we don't really know where this ride is going to take us. So for average investors, the common wisdom is leave it alone. Markets go up, markets go down, and unless you are imminently facing retirement or have a purchase on your to-do list, you should just leave it where it is, cross your fingers and hope for the best.
All right. Well, dozens of countries now are trying to negotiate with the US, but President Trump has indicated there are to be no exclusions or exemptions. Is it fair to say that the US holds all the cards in this game? And ultimately, who are the winners and who are the losers here?
Well, I think it's interesting that the U.S. is trying to exert a lot of influence, but by no means do they hold all the cards, not the least of which is because China is positioning itself in a very muscular kind of way to say, well, if you want a tariff war, bring it on. We're pretty sure we can weather that kind of storm. On the other hand, the European Union are trying to fretfully figure out what to do. They've put negotiating points on the table. They've talked about a 0-for-0 tariff with the United States, but Donald Trump does not seem interested. Here again is another nod to the uncertainty that we're talking about. Nobody really knows exactly what Donald Trump wants. We've got other countries that are very small manufacturers that aren't really party to this kind of game. They export a lot to the U.S., and that's the reason why there's a trade deficit, but they don't really take in a lot from the U.S. because there's not a lot that the U.S. can sell them that they can afford to buy. So I think that the cards are spread out all across the table. I'm not sure Donald Trump holds as many as he thinks he does, mainly because a recession is not good for anyone. So the losers in that scenario would most definitely be consumers across the globe. We'd end up having to pay more stuff for more things, and the global economies are teetering, would teeter on the precipice of a collapse, if not a recession. Some people are even going as far to predict a depression. I think that's a little bit too drastic, but I do note that some short-term pain is heading down the pike for all of us.
One of the sectors we keep talking about is tech, from consumer goods to the rise of AI. You've brought up, just prices going up. How will all of this affect brand America? And what might this do for an economy like China's that you brought up earlier?
Well, I think for all economies, we're looking at slowdowns. We're looking at people buying less stuff. We're looking at less money to pay for stuff that you might want as a consumer. American brand is on the decline right now. I think that one of the things people aren't really taking necessarily seriously is the fact that we're losing a lot of credibility here as the United States, where we have a leader, nobody really knows what he wants, nobody really knows where this is headed. The tariffs to a lot of economies seem illogical. They don't really make much sense about what might be the end game here, what Donald Trump really wants, and how this, of all things, is supposed to strengthen the American economy. So I think the Americans are definitely on the losing side of the ledger for the moment. If things work out according to Donald Trump's plan, it could be a victory, but that one is kind of hard to see even if you squint. For the Chinese, I think it's going to hamper production and exports. There's going to be a slowdown in the Chinese economy, already not really doing as well as leaders think it should be doing. So that could hamper relationships with the United States and China. Now, in terms of other manufacturers, Vietnam certainly is trying to make a deal. Japan is trying to make a deal. You saw Israel at the White House yesterday What we're not hearing is that the EU is coming to the White House to make a deal. We're not hearing that the Germans are on the phone, or that the French are on the phone, or that the Germans or that the Israelis are doing anything other than coming in person and leaving kind of empty-handed. So it still remains to be seen. A lot of this stuff heads. It's a mystery as we sit here right now.
Joseph, say these tariffs, which are now in effect, went away, just a snap of a finger. Do things return to the way they were, or do you see a long-term impact on the global economy just from these few days?
I don't think they return the way they were. I don't think we can snap our fingers and go back to April 1, 2025, mainly because so much has changed on the landscape, and not the least of which, again, is American credibility. Nobody really knows what Donald Trump wants, where he's going, what would satisfy him. Certainly, he's exerted a lot of power and twisted a lot of arms, but to what end? And we've already had volatility in the stock market where billions of dollars have been trading, have come and gone. Almost in an instant, where trading portfolios, retirement portfolios have lost a significant amount of wealth, which is going to have an impact on how long people continue to work, when they might be able to retire. So I think a lot of damage has already been done. The question is, what more damage is out there, and can it be a positive end at the end of this particular episode?
All right, Joseph Williams, former senior editor at US News and World Report. Always good speaking with you. Thank you.
Take care.